Hi folks, I've been reading Crash Proof by Peter Schiff and have been amazed at the man's insight. I'm just going to add a little observation about what I read so far. Crash Proof talks again about Farmer Chang and the trade of chairs for oranges on page 49. A scenario came to mind on the mechanics of trade. In a total population consisting of one orange farmer and one chair maker, this obviously would not work. If a chair was worth 20 oranges, the chair woodworker would have to sell a chair to Farmer Chang every week in order to live. Farmer Chang would not need a chair every week. In order for a chair maker to keep in business, the human population would have to increase. And that population would be due to an increase in orange and food production surpluses to feed them. Only if 4 new orange farmers are added every month to the population could chairmaker keep in business. Therefore, at the end of the year, 200 farmers who needed chairs are born to keep chairmaker in business. Now let's say the planet of those 200 farmers and one chairmaker is small. They ran out of farmland and can no longer breed. Well, that immediately puts chairmaker out of business. And he can't make any more chairs, at least not enough to live on. No new customers, no new chairs. Now chairmaker must file for unemployment in order to keep getting food from the 200 farmers, or he must find some other product to make for them. And that's going to be hard since invention is not really friendly to human societies with low populations. In other words, he's probably not going to be the inventor of the automobile. Notice here how the chairmaker's business was directly related to population growth. Notice how the chairmaker lost his job as soon as the population stopped growing. Now he could have built tables and a house for Farmer Chang, but it still would have been the same formula, and his business would also end when the population stopped growing, unless that house cost Chang an entire lifetime of oranges, which is doubtful if it took chairmaker a month to build it, or a 30-year mortgage. This is sort of the equation of what is going on in the world today with the massive layoffs. The population cannot grow to provide chair jobs because agriculture is running out of expansion space. Losses in agricultural growth due to drought or global warming or cheaper outsourced labor has a direct effect on the non-essential jobs like the chair-making arts, along with other arts. Now, what to do with chairmaker? Kill him? You might like the guy and can't do it. And if he turns to stealing, you're going to have to lock him up and feed him anyway. The solution? Yes, continue to feed him, but only enough food for just him. Tell him if he has any offspring, chairmaking sons or apprentices, they will not be fed. Period. This will eliminate any more useless jobs in the chairmaking industry. Since the farmers have run out of farmland, they must not breed anymore either, because there is only enough oranges to support a population of 200. Any more additions and there will be famines and war and a mass culling of the overpopulation. People get violent when starving. They do. Remember, the food producers are supporting everyone. Of course, this formula ignores the warlord class, another element in this scenario. The warlord enforces property rights, law, and the standing army, and that army is also reliant on the farmers for life. But without any more land to expand into farming, the soldiers' services also would be in peril and end up turning violently inward toward the farmer, who is usually ignorant of the economics of war and population growth. On a side note, it would have been ridiculous at this point to continue building houses and chairs to destroy farmland in order to keep the chairmakers and carpenters employed. That's like building a guillotine to be used on yourself. What is wrong with people? They can change the system tomorrow if they wanted to. I also like your explanation of how the government does not allow the release of money supply figures. This is a variation of the trick of being able to print as much money as you want, as long as you don't tell anybody you're doing so. Not releasing the data is very clever, at least temporarily. I also enjoyed the story of the history of gold as currency. Of course, what came to mind about all the regulation of gold was the people with guns who obey the guys who make the laws about gold. If you take gold, what good would it be if you bought a food-producing farm with it with no government to protect the transaction? That'll tell me that the people with the guns are the ones who decide who is to be protected and who isn't. And if they say paper tops gold, what can you do when a gun is actually pointed to your head? Of course, this is reverting to the economics of the warlord Khans. But this is also a culture of violence, wouldn't you agree? Anyway, that's my thoughts so far. Next, I'm on to the next chapters. By the way, I recommend the book, The Culture of Make-Believe by Derek Jensen. The author once made an interesting commentary of how our culture is directly related to violence in everyday life. Thank you very much.